Yeah, fight fan, I heard about it. And one of the things I want to say is I'm glad it never happened. You can go up, and I think James Toney's a good reflection of that. James Toney used to starve himself to make middleweight, even super middleweight, and it's why I didn't stay at light heavyweight very long. And, he was a world class heavyweight still. And of course, he won the title at cruiserweight. But going the opposite direction can be a failing return, so to speak. Chris Byrd bulked himself up to fight at heavyweight when he had an amateur career as a middleweight because he knew that's where the money was. And more power to him. He won the title twice. He beat Vitaly Klitschko. A lot of people don't talk about that. I asked him about the Klitschko fight when I met him at that MMA gym. He told me, he goes, yeah, look, the guy gassed out. The guy didn't have anything left. I beat him. Everybody else just kind of said, well, Klitschko got hurt, and that's it, and they let it go. But the Klitschko brothers learned a lot on the job. They were giant men, but they were very much in the European style of boxing. And it wasn't until Emmanuel Stewart took over training for Vladimir that he began to get some wins back. That he lost. There were a couple guys he lost to. Lost his title a few times. That South African guy, that kid from LA. But in any event, I'm glad Chris Byrd never came back. I don't think you can reverse the scales like that. And certainly, his timing and his rhythm and his speed would have been down at that age. So now you're returning to the middleweight division. He's used to playing with heavyweights who he had those natural advantages over. So I'm glad it didn't happen. The guy was an absolute great guy. He knew I was going to prison again. We talked about it. He said, look, I'll remember you as the kid, is what he told me. Now, I'm sure he didn't remember me at all, but he was a good guy. And I remember him talking about how him, Ray Mercer, and a few others were trying to come together to market as ex-professional heavyweight champions. And I thought that was very sad in its own way, that, there's a ton of ex-champions in boxing that they have nowhere to go after that. And, there's no money, and I'm sure that was part of the reason Chris flirted with a middleweight return. I'm also very glad it never happened. But yeah, it's an unforgiving sport, guys. That's what fighting is. We'll see that in MMA fighters probably in another 2 decades or 3 decades. But for right now, it's a little bit different. Also, one of the things about MMA fighters is a lot of them are college wrestlers, right? College educated. They have other opportunities to do other things. A lot of the boxers came from the street. And I think that was really just a cultural representation. And when America got behind in boxing, and I would say that's the rise of Manny Pacquiao, the rise of the Klitschko brothers, the rise of these other countries, it was because, we left boxing as this inner city sport when the reality was it was no sport is so inner city. Making something inner city just makes it harder to accomplish greatness, right? You got so many challenges around you. So, I'm glad that where we are where we are with combat sports. Everybody, you can thank the UFC, even you boxing fans. And read my book, Warrior of the Light.